Mattias plays a significant role in the Azure community, speaking at various conferences, appearing on podcasts, writing blogs, and many more. And as the slide says, he is the founder of DevUp Solutions, specializing in analyzing Azure environments. He was first recognized as an Azure MVP in 2017, and the journey has been continuing till date. Today's session primarily focuses on integration developers, encouraging them to develop a long-lasting build and release setup. So, apart from work, Mattias' main hobbies are winter skiing and CrossFit. So when asked what superpower he would like to have, he gave an instant answer: bring world peace. Welcome, and Mattias.
Thank you very much. Nice to be here. Wow, this has been some time. Cool. So, long-lasting build and release. Why do we need that? Or what is that topic, for that sake? So, we as integration people, we kind of tend to build more services than anyone else, I think. Do you agree with me? You're a little bit nodding. Come on. Come on. Okay, so we build a lot of services. Let's just take a web app developer or something. They use the same 5 services for 10 years. And we kind of spin up hundreds a year or something like that. Yeah, so we do a lot more of this. And how about the things we create? Do they live long? Do they live short? Come on, help me out. I like you. Come on, help me. So, long, very long, that's correct, yes. I still have stuff going on that I built back in 2013 that deliver values to my customer, which is really awesome. So they deliver value still this date. It's 9 years ago, and they're still there. We build very, very long-lived services. So we got a lot of services, and they're long-lived. Why do I always end up in, hey, I have an idea. This is a program manager or it could be a service owner or something. Hey, I have an idea. Can we try this out? It's just temporary. Every time I hear that, I'm like, no. This is going to be tough. So you kind of end up doing something, and I want to help the guy or the girl. I like helping people. So I end up help that, and we build something, and we try it out, and they're really happy, right? Because it's just temporary, and I'm happy it's just temporary. And then 1 day, 2 day goes, and they're like, can I have that in production tomorrow? Nope. Okay, I'll try to do that. I'll try to help them. But to be honest, they have no idea what they're asking of. Because if you just take a visualization of how this will look like, come on. I love Integrate, by the way. I love being here. Thank you for being here. Okay. Why can't I scroll? Okay, sorry. This will take some time. Come on. What's up with this? This will be a boring day, I think. Yeah, let's just do it like this. Come on. Okay, now it's almost there. So, what is happening is that we are in dev. This takes me a couple of hours. We fix this to the eager man or woman that want to have this in a temporary stuff. And then we all know we need to put this to test and later on to production. So if I spend, let's say I spend half a day doing it in dev, How much time do I spend to get it in production? Anyone have an idea? Holding up hands, 10 hours? Yeah. Months, I heard. I would say days, unfortunately. Because it's often something cool, something new, something different, which means that I'll pay a lot of effort actually getting it into production. Or I can do it the other way, which would be I do it manually or semi-manually. And then I go in and I close down that part, I do that part, I click on that stuff, and then I go back and I reset that, and then I run to this end, and before 5 minutes has gone, I need to press that button. Maybe I overdo it a little bit, but yeah, still, you need to do it manually, and you push it in production, and they have it. We have a small problem there when we do that. Anyone else who has done that? Just do it manually in production? Not more than that. Are you serious? Are you that good at doing build and release pipelines and fully automated? They're all like, yeah, I agree on that one. No manual steps. Is that what you're saying? Wow, I'm impressed. Why I'm up here and not you guys? Okay. I'll go with the lying part because much more fun for my session at least. So what happens is if I put up a timeline, and then we said we did a lot of services, right? And then we have year 1, so this is 1 year, 2 year, that's just for visualization. I'll run up a bunch of services. Okay, sorry, I'm boring and not speaking. Okay, and this one over here, that is that temporary stuff. And then they added one more temporary, and they added one more, and probably it's the opposite, but anyway. So if we look at this and we say we have long-lived and we do a lot of services, how will I manage this over time? If I have that, you need to go click that one, you need to go and shut down that part, and then you need to go down over here and press that button, and then you go. That's going to be tough, right? It's going to be really tough. So whenever that temporary guy comes, I'm going to go like this. Nope. Sorry, no. I'll probably do something else, but still, that is the idea. I want to help out, but it's tough doing that. And if you're going to build a team, we all want to build good teams. I mean, every time we start up with, either it's your own company or it's as a consultant, you go into a new company. I mean, what's the first thing you think of? I have a quote from a friend of mine. He's always saying this, and I'm laughing a lot inside of me. I'm not laughing so much at him, but I'm laughing a lot inside of me because it's quite funny. But he always quotes, "Let's do this in perfection." And that's good. It's a good thought. But over time, it's hard. Because doing things in perfection means a lot of work. And that temporary stuff is just an example of things that end up that we need to fix. There's also deadlines. There's also project leaders that has a lot of pressure on them, that push pressure on you, and so forth. So you start skipping stuff. You start doing things in a more rapid pace than you thought of. But let's just keep in mind, if we are doing that, we will end up in a big burden. And we heard about it yesterday. What we really want in our teams is speed and agility, right? So speed, let's just write it just for making it good, and agility. And I think that's the important part when it comes to this, because if I want to have speed and agility, and I want to do a change on something that is for 2 years ago, I need a bunch of stuffs, right? Because I'm not going to remember what I did 2 years ago. Or at least not all the things I need. So I need some documentation. I need source code. I need build and release pipeline and so forth. And if I have a documentation saying that when I put this in the next environment, I need to go push that button, click on that one, reset that stuff, and go there. It's going to take me forever to do that because I won't be able to trust that release pipeline. Or would you? No. So that's why we need to actually talk a lot about this. So speed and agility, we heard it yesterday. Oh, and one more thing. If we have been listening to Microsoft, and they are actually deploying the service that we are using. How do you think they're doing it? Do you think they also do it manually? This checklist, like I want to do press that button, go over there. No, of course not. They would do fully automated. They would be, I'm not sure if they said it, but I said it at least, focus on a read-only type of in production. I would say that's the key benefit of getting this to work is get read-only in production. There's a few guys who's going to be scared right now. Because read-only in production is tough, but it's much more fun and much better in the long run for you. Cool. So how can we achieve this then? Still not happy with this one. Ugh. Come on. Let's just take a very common scenario. Let's just take it from the beginning. And let's see how we can do this. So in the end, we want speed and agility. We want to be able to create a lot of services, and we want to be able to maintain them over a long period of time. That's the main goal. So if we just go ahead and write a very common infrastructure for us, like we have, I'm sorry, I need to be bigger. Let's start off with the famous one at the front, API management. And we then need to have, so I'll take this scenario a little bit based on landing zone thinking. So we will create an environment right now that's more from a landing perspective and from an infrastructure from us integration developers. So I will also actually add this because it's more accurate for from an enterprise perspective. So I'll add an app service plan. The idea about this is if we would do this from an enterprise perspective, we might want to hide everything in networks. I'm not going to do that because I don't have the money for it, actually, to show you case it. But if you would do that, you would probably add an ACE environment over here, like a V3 one. Then you can add your logic app standard and your functions on it, which is good. But for my sake, I need to have something cheaper. I'll also need something else. I need to have somewhere to store my secrets. So I will need a key vault. So my key vault, I will be adding. And I will actually need a database, and I will use Cosmos. That's not the logo of Cosmos, but ooh, look, now I can move this one. Nice. And we haven't had so much into this, but if I'm going to do something in Azure, I will add application insight. Let's spell it right. Application insight. And I will add a log analytics namespace as well. So it's a bunch of services that we need and that we can use for our plan. And this is just infrastructure. And historically, I've been really bad at doing this actually automated. I've been doing this manually quite a lot. But let's just look how we can achieve this in this part. So I have some pipelines I've done in DevOps. I will say this once. I don't know. We have different technologies to achieve this. So how many of you are actually using ARM templates? Wow, nice. That's good. And how many is using Bicep? A little bit less. There's some Terraform people in there. Nice. And the last one would be PowerShell. Cool. There's some spread out. That's nice. And in the end, this is just a framework or a technology to achieve the same goal. For me, it's just, I don't know, I've been working with ARM templates for ages, so I'm never going to leave that one, I think, or move to Bicep maybe, but yeah. So I have a repository for my infrastructure. So let's just move to that one, and there we go. And I've added, as you can see in this list, I added a template for each and every resource that we put up. And I also added some other stuff, like nowadays we can actually work with permissions, which is really nice. So you can see we got API management, we got Cosmos, application insight, and so forth. And then I'm using a master template to kind of combine them and build them together. I won't go into code because it's tough, but just a little sneak peek. I use a lot of variables to build naming and stuff up. And then you kind of add your, this part. You kind of build up your template and linking other templates. A rather simple one. But this makes it possible for me to do quite simple releases. I just release this master template. I don't need to do anything else, and it will link everything else. And it's convenient for me to do that. Another one I want to add for this is role assignments. Sure. Woo! It's so hard. One key thing that's added with the managed entity is role assignment. In this case, I will, in my master template, I will actually give my API management access to Key Vault, because I need to have that in order to store secrets in my Key Vault. But you can do that in many other resources as well. Adding this will, if you're not owner on your subscription, which is not often the case, you will need to add a user administrator role, something like that, to be able to provide these assignments. But it's really good to have that in your release pipeline, and I'm using it a lot. I love managed entities. It's awesome. So when I run this one, I did it beforehand because API management takes an hour to deploy, which is not that fun. Oh yeah, and one more thing. I'm going to be a bit honest. So I said doing a release pipeline takes time. Yeah, let's just scroll down a bit and see how many attempts I did to do this. It's like insane. It's the truth. I'm sorry, but this is the truth. Yeah. Oh, there you go. Anyway, if I go back to if I go into the Azure portal, I've done a bit of simplicity. I've added my infrastructure over here. So I have my application insight, API management, Cosmos, Key Vault, and if I go into Key Vault, we can see that I actually added my role assignment over here. Dun, 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 dun. Maybe. Okay. While I load. So I can add that Key Vault reader role. This is going to be a boring day. Let's try that again. Request timed out. Okay. Let's try it the other way around then. Let's go to my API management and my identity. There we go. And let's just go to role assignments. The server error occurred. Please try again later. Okay, done. There we go. I can actually go the other way around as well. So I can go on my managed entity and see what permissions I have. So in this case, I have the Key Vault secret user, which means I can start using my secrets right away in API management without any other stuff. And it's nice to have this involved in your release pipeline, and especially if we go to the next step later on. But this is my infrastructure, and I've done the same for test. shockingly, it's very similar, or it's more exactly similar. Yeah, it's just the same, just different names. I actually needed to move region. I have no idea, but I had some strange errors and some subscription quota stuff. But that's nice. That's okay. Same here. My API management has to my key vault in test. The same thing. Okay. We have some infrastructure, so that's nice. So this is typically one-time doing, or very rare at least. You don't do this release often. But it's nice to have it done. Then you can just manipulate that and do a new release. You guys using Terraform? I've heard some rumors that Terraform could sometimes delete stuffs. Watch out for API management. I've heard that that's happened. So take care. You don't want to do that. So then, now we have an infrastructure. Now we need to have something to actually do in this part. And in my case, I have two different scenarios that we're going to look into. Oh, I forgot one thing. I added a service bus. Of course, we need a service bus namespace as well. There we go. Oh, I got this one. There we go. And then we got a mission right now to add an order API that should put on a message and a queue. That's the idea. So we kind of developed this one. It's orders. And we use a logic app for this part. And we need a queue, an orders queue. Someone else is picking up the data and actually do something with it. Our mission is just to be able to receive it and put it on a queue to make sure that we're not losing any orders. We want the consistency, or we want to not lose any orders. Doing this as development, it's rather easy. So let's just look into our resource group. So we created a simple logic app.
Can you zoom in on that view as well?
Sorry, yes. Is it good enough? Nice. So my resource group has a logic app, and as you can see, I've tested this out, which is good. I've done this very simple. I just have an HTTP message and a send message. I'm using managed identity to do this. It's both easier from a release perspective, but it's also from a security, and we heard it the other days around as well, regenerating keys, yada, yada, yada. It's just, that's a tough thing to do. So it's much easier to use managed identity. But then we need some permissions as well, so we need some special permissions on the queues, which we need to do. So we have built this one up. There's a logic app, it's going there. Let's go back to the API management part. Let's go to infra and API management. And then let's go to order. So the only thing I've done is I imported this from, create a new API and import it. And rewrote a little bit so it looks a little bit nicer, the naming. But it's really simple. So let's just post an order. There we go. And press, that's little part where I forgot to remove those ones. Example messages is not always easy. There we go. And press send. There we go. We got a message sent. And let's go to our service bus, just to kind of show you that it's real, that I have a queue. And we got the orders queue. And we have Service Bus Explorer. I really like this one. So let's see if we have something on this. We have a few messages. So we have one from today. Easy to see, easy to speak. So our mission is done. We have this set up and sent it to the queue. And now we're on that mission, pick it to the next level. Let's pick it to test. That's the plan. That's our plan right now. In order to do that, we actually need a few components. As we can see on the drawing, we need to have the API, obviously. We need to link it to our logic app, and we need to have a queue on Service Bus. So all of this we need to achieve, and they need to be connected, and they need to have permissions, they need to have everything. That's the plan. So since this takes a while, let's just go ahead and just kick this off. Let's just approve this change, because I have actually done it before, so I can deploy it to test, and now to dev, and now we can just deploy it to test. Everything I deploy right now is just configuration. There's no code involved at all, because everything we can do is with ARM templates. So if I go back into my create order, I have created templates for the stuffs I need. So there's a template for the API, and it's huge. It's going to be long stuff. Some important part of this, just to make it automated, is we're creating something called a backend in our API management part. And what we need to have in order to get access to our logic app, if we use the signature way, we could do this via OAuth as well, but if we use the signature way, the built-in way, we need to have the signature, and in this case, it's the URL, I think. This is really long, really a lot of code. In the end, we get base path. So we actually read the logic app, the targeted logic app. So this actually tried to read out the targeted one. So we try to get the resource ID based on the resource itself. And same goes for the signature, that we actually, in the end, after a lot of stuff, we actually get the signature. So this is one way of automating the authentication towards logic apps from API management. And we got a logic app, of course, that we need to do. This one is, we're using consumption. Since I'm poor, I'm using that. So we will use connections in the end. So we have this connection to the service bus. All we need is the service bus namespace. And since I've been using identity, I need to have an identity on my logic app. And also there's a little tiny thing that we need to have on our connection property, and that's this connection properties, and I have managed service identity. So this is stuff that we need in order to make this work. We also need a queue. So I actually have an ARM template for a queue here. So this is the resource for creating a queue. So based on a name and a service bus namespace, I can create a queue. And in order to use that queue with managed entities, I need to have a role assignment, which the last piece is doing, and combining everything with my master template. And so I can actually, let's just go ahead and show you the role. Here, there we go. So this is the same thing. So deploying a role assignment is the same thing as deploying like a logic app or an API. It's just a different thing, but you need to add your names. So we need to add the scope name for a queue, for instance, because we want to have the permission on the queue, and then also have the targeting resource that can find the identity and then go. Let's just see if my talk has been long enough for this to run. There we go. So we have this up and running in test. We have a green box. Nice. So let's just go ahead and add my test again. And let's go into test and go for API. And let's do the same thing. Let's hope we have something here. We got the order API. Cool. And I should have shown you before that there was nothing here, but yeah. Then we need to go to create order, and the same bad message is in the description, of course. And I need to remove that one, and I need to remove the first one. There we go. We go send. And there we go. 200 OK, which means that we should have our order on a queue. So infra, the service bus. Let's go to service bus, And we will see that we have some message, some action over here, and then we have the orders. And we can now see with the Service Bus Explorer. So I've actually used that. You saw Elder showing off the local authentication is disabled. I actually like that one, so I do that. And then I just need to press that button and we will be good to go, I think. I hope. No, I was too quick. Oh, there we go. Peek, refresh. Didn't I get anything? Showing 0 of 1 messages. Sounds good. Peek. It's in preview. Yeah, okay. Sorry. You can see that 0 of 1 messages at least. There's a message on it. So that's good. And another thing I want to show is that on this resource, on the orders queue, I put the role assignment. So this is the Azure Service Bus Data Sender. For a sender role, you don't have to do it on a queue specific, but from a receiver role, you have to do it on that specific queue, because otherwise they won't trigger. You won't have the permissions. So you get some more granular control when using the RBAC way. So I think it's on both the topic subscription or the service bus queue that you need to have this part. Cool. It worked so far, so that's good. And now we have a running environment. So let's just top this up a little bit, and let's just do something more complex. A good color. Let's do this one. Is this a good color? Do you see it? Nice. Let's add a new API. And let's add a function that we actually deploy to our service app plan. So we connect it to that one, and then we get some data from Cosmos. So we're going to get invoices from our Cosmos. And I forgot about it. Every resource in this part is actually connected, like to Application Insight or Log Analytics, depending on what they need. So Logic App is also connected to the Log Analytics space, just to get everything automated and fully run every time. So let's take a look at this. And the same goes here. Let's just deploy this one. And I'm going to be honest, I did this one this morning, and it failed. So let's see. I need to rerun for it. So let's hope I don't do that now. Let's approve it. And let's wait for it to go. Meanwhile, let's take a short look at what we're doing. And same goes here. I mean, from developer perspective, it seems so little. So I have a function app, and I have a storage. That's all I have. And I use managed entity, all again, to get access to my Cosmos. My Cosmos is also locked down, and we use disabled local authentication, again, because it's better in the long run. But we need to have permissions here as well. So we need to have permissions to our Cosmos. So if we go back to the repository again and just have a short look to our invoice, and we can see that a new folder comes up, like it's a code, and it's just just some C#, very simple. It's the simplest one in the world, where we go ahead and just create a credential, and then we just connect to our Cosmos, depending on the variable. And then we just get all data in it, and return it. So it's very simple. And from a release process, I actually have, as you can see, master and master 2, and that's because you cannot import your functions into API management before the code is there, and you cannot deploy the code before the function is actually there. So you need to create the resource for function app first, and then you need to deploy the code, and then you can create your API. Because otherwise it would fail, because it won't find it. So in my templates, I have the API. Again, simple. I think we have some sort getting the key. I think we use the key. Yeah, we do. So list keys is used here as well, in order to get the key from our function app. And we also have a functions template, and we got special role. So Cosmos have their own special role that we need to use in order to get access to create it. And then we have the generic role as well, because I want to add key vault accesses, just because it's good show off. So let's just verify this is running. It is good. And from a dev perspective, let's just check it out, see how it goes. Let's just go to Dev API, and then let's just go to APIs, and let's go to invoices. And let's just test it out. It's nothing fancy. I'm just using everything, and I think I even have no data in Cosmos, I think. Might be. Let's see. I don't have any invoices to send. Oh, my bad. Not going good for me now. No invoices. Too bad. Still, we go back. We go all the way through, and we go into our Cosmos DB. You can't see the permissions for Cosmos though, but you can see that if I go into the Data Explorer, it will whine because I'm not having this local authorization is disabled. And so we need to have more permissions, and it's not working in the portal right now. But let's go into our dev 2 and just take a short look at the identity to see what we have access to. And just make sure that we have some access, and hopefully after that we have the test to look into. So as you can see, I have the key vault circuit user, but I also have the storage blob data contributor. So I'm actually removing some of the connection strings inside of my app configuration, which is nice. So I can use that as well. Let's see how the pipeline is going. Okay, I got some time. So in this case, let's go into configuration. So if you want to remove your some of these key strings, you can actually use this Azure Web Job Storage __ account name, and then you can use MSI to actually use that instead. Still, these two guys is not supported for that yet. So this one. This is still a connection string, which is too bad. And we got the application inside connected and so forth. So let's just refresh this and see. We got the test version. Oh, look, something is up and running. See where we're at. Let's just see. Cool. So we're currently deploying the function, so we're deploying code. And we have done the first ARM template, which means that if I go into my function app that is deployed, we will see permissions, we will see the identity, but we won't have any functions in there yet, and we won't be able to import it into API management. But if I go to my identity, we can see that I have, to the test environment, I have the key vault, and I have the storage blob. And I also have the Cosmos, even though we can't see it in the UX. So that's fun. And let's just go. OK, good. It's deploying. So as you can see, when we're doing this, we have a lot of moving parts. So you're just going ahead in the portal, just clicking around. It's rather simple. You just create your function app. You just get the storage up and running. You go ahead and assign permissions and so forth and so forth. But as soon as you go out and doing a release, you need to actually go ahead and think a lot more. And another concern is that you also need to be a little bit aware of the order. So if we just take the master template, so this is ARM template, so but it's similar. You need to have this depends on. So you need to wait for a certain execution to run, and then you can order them. And some of these you also need to do some other tricks, like for logic apps. If you want to make sure that that's actually deployed, you need to have an output with the URL. Otherwise, it might not be fully deployed, which is annoying, since it's async everything. So there we go. It's still deploying. So I have a question. How many of you are doing this today? Nice. I'm impressed. It's really cool. You do role assignments as well? Yeah, a little bit. That was a tricky one to find, right? It wasn't the easiest part. And I mean, if we're going to go back to a little bit about speed and agility, the boring part here is that we can do all of this rather quick, like Thomas said in beforehand, like Steven. I mean, like we can do it in a portal. It's rather quick and rather easy to do most of it. And then we need to go back into this, even if it's ARM template, Bicep, Terraform, doesn't matter, or PowerShell. It's quite a lot of work to get this up and running. And I really would love this to be just like, I heard something from the Power Apps, the ALM accelerator something. That sounded awesome. Like clicking on this solution and get it to run into the next environment. Please, I would love to have that. Because nowadays we spend so much time fixing this. And again, if I go in, we can show, I can be guinea pig on this one. It's ridiculous how much time I spent just getting this to work. Because you forget some small part or you do something on the way. Sorry? You have a question?
I always delete my bad history.
Oh, you delete the bad history, okay. Yeah, I kind of made a thing of it to show you guys that even if I'm doing this a lot, I still do a lot of mistakes. And I hope to show that. Oh, now it's deployed, right? Cool. So let's just have a quick summary test on this part, and let's make it work, and I hope it works. Infra test. We can then go to API management, and we just try it out, the invoice. There we go, we got the invoice now. And V1, and we go to test, invoices. Should be a blank one as well, because I didn't add any data to it. Dun, dun, dun. Oh, there we go. So fully one done. And if we have this approach based on, let's just take a short summary back. If we are doing this in our scenario over here, I can guarantee that even if you can pick any one of these, and you will have a short time, a short session to actually fix it, and then you can release it, and then you're comfortable getting everything done. But as soon as you have these black ones or white ones in this drawing, that's actually you're not comfortable with, you will spend hours and hours just to get it to next level and fixing it. I've done that so many times, and it's horrible. When I start relying on my releases, I'm screwed. I hate it. Then you're back to zero, and you have to do it all over again because you don't know if production is, or test or dev or whatever is real. And reality, we want speed and agility. And I think I'm ready for my second slide on this one. Look, I have one for whiteboard. I didn't even use it. So, key takeaways. I mean, automate. We want the speed and agility. We don't want that mountain that whenever someone comes and calls us, we run and hide because it's too much work to get a small fix up. And we want to reuse. So I had a lot of errors, and I still reused a lot of code. But still, you can copy-paste a lot. And the read-only in production is really nice. It's annoying in the beginning, but it's really nice. Because when you're used to it, there's no biggie. And you just go ahead and change your release pipeline, and it's just working. And also, if I would say something, managed identities is really nice for this, because then you can swap everything up. It's a bit tricky to get started though, but once you're up and running, it's nice. It helps. I love it. And with that, I would say I'm done for today. Thank you very much. Is there any time for questions, or?
I was just thinking, like one scenario that is quite common at the end of like projects when you start to do test runs with your clients. You have your like development pipeline, and you have your test pipeline and your production pipeline.
Yep.
And let's say you're in a meeting and you're testing something out, and there's quite a lot of functions in your environment, and you see that something isn't working as intended. So you try to do a quick fix, but then when you have to deploy it, it has to go through like the pipeline, and you tell your client, yeah, we have to wait for the pipeline to build, and it can take quite a while. Is that just like one of the downsides that we have to deal with, or is there like some kind of solution to get ahead of that, or is?
Yeah, that's always tricky. I tend to at least in test environment, I tend to fix it in the portal, just for getting the test case running.
Yeah.
And then I go back and mimic it into the release pipeline. But if it's something that could be released from the beginning, and you have an easy way of doing it, depending on the urgency of the meeting, I would say you would do it the full way or not. Just make sure that if you skip that, bring them back.
Yeah.
Otherwise, that's a common error.
Yeah. Okay. Anyone else have a question?
There we go. One there. One there. We have one there and one over there.
Yeah, thank you. I was wondering, right now it's possible with pipelines in DevOps to do the push model. You say you push things like you do here with ARM templates. There's also description using Arc and Kubernetes clusters. You can do a GitOps model, which is more of a pull model, which compares if there's a difference between. So you can do parts changes, like he was saying, and then it will automatically update. Is that something you can use besides the Kubernetes option, or how is that going? Yeah.
Unfortunately, we don't have much support in that area. I mean, the only support we more or less have is export templates from the portal, I would say.
Yeah.
And that's why I brought in that ALM accelerator that Power Apps had, because that seemed like they had something really cool that just boxed everything and made it possible to deploy to next environment.
Yeah.
And from integration perspective, we have a bunch of components. You want all of these in the same.
Yeah.
And there's some connections between them. That's the complexity I try to describe. Yeah.
This is what you get when you do integrations.
Exactly.
You get a lot of complexity.
But it would be really nice if Microsoft could do something more like, I want to have these three and then just pop it up. Or even a compare model that could help out, you have fixes in this environment versus that environment.
Yeah.
That would be really cool.
That would be nice. If you want feedback, this is nice.
It's good. They're all here, so they're listening. Over there. Thank you.
So the question I have is basically a scenario-based question. We developed a system. We have APIM, service bus, and few infrastructure components. So on day one, we have these templates which are linked. So APIM goes in, and then all the infrastructure, everything is done. And they were all basically a weaving of different templates, but we ran them all together.
Yep.
Now, after that point, say a change is needed, say a service bus. In the service bus, we need to add a new topic, something like that. We have two schools of thoughts after this point in the team. One school of thought is, hey, just rerun the whole thing again. You only have change in one small template somewhere, and in theory, nothing else should be updated. And the other school of thought is, hey, we know that there is only one change in one, let's only run that piece. So what's your recommendation in this scenario?
I mean, as I did now, I did a small one. I just created a queue. I just assume that the namespace is there. For me, it's all about who's the owner. I would say if you would say that the namespace itself is the owner, maybe you should run on the namespace. But if you have, like me, I have an integration flow that actually is the owner of the queue, because without that flow, the queue is worthless anyway. Then I put it in that. But I try to do as little as possible because I mean the big one takes time, both time and effort, and you never know whatever could go wrong.
Yes, so that is you never know what could change or something has changed in Azure behind the scenes which we don't know, and maybe if you run the template again, it might. Have you seen something like that before?
No, I haven't. I wouldn't be afraid of that actually because normally everything is there. But the problem is that sometimes, and I have had it in mine as well, you get like an error for another reason. It could be, I don't know, something in there. Yeah, exactly. And then you have a long time doing the release again. So that's why I want to have them split up in smaller parts. And I always like smaller parts because then it's easier to remove as well. And you know who's the owner of this queue, for instance. Because someday you might want to remove that queue.
Thank you.
Welcome. There's one more. If we have time, I don't.
Hi. So as I understood, you are deploying your resources using the ARM templates, and when you done ARM templates to prepare it for deployment to next environments, it's this nice process called parameterization. Do you have some tips and tricks, or maybe tools you can share how to do this process more easily be more productive with it? Because I feel it's a lot of simple but manual work with ARM templates, basically down to the text editors of JSON files.
Yeah, I have 2 open source projects. One for Logic App Templates Extractor for consumption, if you're using that. Or for API management, there's also one. And there's some from Microsoft as well, a VS Code extension. That you can extract your APIs from API management, for instance. So you can build them up there. But otherwise, there is not much tools around. I mean, I use the portal a lot to get templates for like application insights, or I need template for Key Vault. I usually create in the portal and then download the template. And then reuse that all over again.
So when you download this template, you're then doing the parameterization, so whatever is
they are often parameterized.
Environment specific.
So variables inside of your if you use an ARM template, you have this variable section. There's a good place to actually put in the environment variable, for instance, dev, test, and production, to get that into naming and create the names.
Yeah, but they're normally not there when you just export templates.
No,
I'm missing something.
There are parameters
you
for the name.
add
Yeah.
manually, right?
Yeah.
Afterwards. Okay, thanks.
There we go. Thank you very much, everybody.
Cove.co